Objects remain editable in Shapr3D, so I can select this inner radius and change it. Or I could transform that, and it would change the relationship that it has with the cube. I'll undo. I'll just make this a bit smaller. Let's say that I want to rotate the top of the cube around that hole. In order to do that, I need an axis. So I will add a construction axis through a cylinder or cone. Tap on that cylinder and say done. Then I'll go ahead and select the top surface of the cube, transform it, rotate it around the axis, next. Click on the axis, next. And then I'll type in an angle of 90 degrees, enter, and then click done. So the result is this twisted cube. But observe, especially in the silhouette of the object on the right, that the line goes down straight and then it's a very nice smooth curve. So it generates these surfaces. Let's examine how this would appear in SketchUp, for example, and contrast the different programs. Edges and faces are handled differently in SketchUp as compared to Shapr3D. If I select this hole inside this box and move it over, it doesn't cut through the box like it does in Shapr3D. Instead, SketchUp is very literal about it. It just took that collection of faces and edges and moved them over. It doesn't understand anything about this being a box or this being a cylinder. I'll undo. Another thing to be aware of is the fact that all curves in SketchUp are somewhat of an illusion. You see, this looks nice and smooth in here, but that's because of an illusion called smoothing. These are composed of flat surfaces. And I can reveal the illusion by selecting these hidden edges and unchecking smooth. Now you can see the reality is that these are actually faceted, flat, planar surfaces. And it's smoothing, which is giving us this sense of it being curved. Also, this circle on the top is likewise made up of a number of straight line segments. The number of segments is right here, 24, but it's not editable. You can only edit curved objects like that when they're two-dimensional. So for example, if I create a circle over here, I can select it, and then I can change the number of segments. Let's say it's 72. So it looks a lot smoother. Now if I pull that up, it really looks nice and smooth. However, we have a lot of individual surfaces here that have to be retained in memory. And this can become a problem for you if you make a lot of these elements. So for example, if I had a railing and I had a lot of balusters on it that were round, and I wanted them to appear smooth, I could end up with way too many polygons in my model. So in a situation like that, in SketchUp, I would need to think that through beforehand and create balusters with a very low number of polygons, let's say 6 or 8. And then when I pull that up, it's going to look good from a distance. You see, it looks nice and smooth. But when I get closer to that, eventually the illusion is sort of blown when I see these shading discontinuities between the flat surfaces. Or if I see it in profile and I see that it's actually an octagon in cross-section. So those are some of the considerations that you have in SketchUp because you're dealing with these flat surfaces. Let's also examine what it would take to resize this cylinder here. If I select it, I can scale it, and I'll go into X-ray mode. And then I can scale that about the center. And you can actually scale things non-uniformly in SketchUp, which isn't possible in Shapr3D. I'm going to scale that to 0.5 also, so it's half as big. I'll go out of X-ray mode. So now the cylinder is smaller. Now I'm going to draw a line from the center of this circle at the top here. I'll draw it straight up to form a kind of axis. And then I'll select the top surface of the box, just like I did in Shapr3D. And I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. So the result here is very different. No curves are generated like they are in Shapr3D. Instead, the surfaces are just twisted in this way. If you wanted curves to be generated, you need to have a box that had sufficient topology to be transformed in that way. And there are a number of plugins, for example FFD, that might allow you to do something like that. But that's more of an advanced topic. Also in SketchUp, you have the ability to draw straight lines as well as freehand lines. But freehand lines are done like this, and they're actually composed of straight line segments. You can just see that here. They're also not editable, so I can't change the shape of this in any convenient way. Again, there's a plugin that allows you to have Bezier splines in SketchUp, and again, that's an advanced feature that not all users are aware of. So this highlights some of the important differences between SketchUp and Shapr3D. SketchUp really excels when your geometry is orthogonal, rectilinear. Most architecture is like that. And Shapr3D really excels when you have curves especially.